Recording in progress.
To welcome everybody to the Tuesday, March. Is it working? I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, March 19th meeting of the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners. Will everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag Thank you. Our first item of business is the accounts payable docket. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we're going to change the order a little bit. We are going to recognize our business, citizen, employee, and youths of the month. But we're going to start with the youths of the month, recognizing that some of them have other obligations. So we'll move on to youth of the month.
We have 4 for the month of January. All 4 of them have won the Lilly Scholarship. The Lilly Endowment Community Scholarship Program is administered by the Independent Colleges of Indiana and includes significant participation by the community foundations serving each of the 92 counties. This highly competitive 4-year scholarship provides students with full tuition to any Indiana college or university, plus a textbook stipend. There are only 143 scholarships awarded annually throughout the entire state of Indiana. Applicants and recipients must possess a minimum cumulative GPA of 3.8 at the conclusion of the 6th semester of high school. Our first recipient is Danielle Morales. Danielle is a senior at John Adams High School. She is the president of the Spanish Club, the National Honor Society, a 4-year varsity athlete, a 2-year captain for the Eagles, where she won the IHSAA Sportsman Pin Award for swimming. Danielle is the treasurer for the NHS, a 2-time mock trial regional champion. Her additional recognitions include winning the first place dance award in traditional dancing and a National Hispanic Recognition Award and the Kawaiians Award. She is also part of an advanced Spanish for heritage speakers. Danielle, could you please come up and introduce yourself? Yeah,
Danielle, if you have some parents or friends with
Come
you,
up.
they can come up
Oh,
and
yeah.
join you.
with you.
You don't have to stand there all by yourself.
Don't leave her hanging, go on up there. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Daniela Morales. My future plans include I'm attending the University of Notre Dame, where I plan to major in political science in hopes of attending law school in the future and becoming a lawyer.
All right. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mom or dad, anything? Thank the academy, or? Well, come on up, we'll do individual pictures.
You gonna do individual?
Yeah.
We're gonna do 2 different cameras, so scooch in. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wonderful. One more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Our second recipient is Jerry Barca. Jerry Barca is a senior at St. Joe High School in South Bend. He is a recipient of the Lilly Scholarship and a salutatorian for his class of 2024 at St. Joe. Jerry is the student body president. He is on the Principals Advisory Council and is a member of the Unity Council. Jerry served on the committees that changed and adopted the new school mascot. He is a captain on the Huskies basketball team that will be playing in the 3A state championship in Indianapolis on March 30th. Last year, he volunteered and ran a basketball clinic twice a week at the Boys and Girls Club. Additionally, he is a commissioned artist. Earlier this year, he designed and painted shoes for Notre Dame's men's basketball team. Come on up, Jerry, with your parents or anybody.
Hi, I'm Jerry Barca. Next year, I'll be attending Notre Dame, and I plan to major in neuroscience. Following college, I want to open up my own research group that's contracted out to athletic teams across the country.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Congratulations.
Hey, Dad, come on, Mom or Dad. Get up there, Mom
Parents,
or
do you
Dad, say
wanna-
something. Come on, come on.
Add anything?
You know, we moved out here 5 years ago from New Jersey, just very grateful for the opportunities our kids have and grateful to be here in the community and everything we've been afforded.
Glad to have you and your family.
So class of 24, right? Class of 74.
Come on up and let's get a picture.
Okay. I know you guys gotta scoot in, this big group. All right, we're doing this 3 times. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Great. 1, 2, 3. Great. One more. I sing all the time. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic.
Perfect, all righty. Thank you.
My pictures, pictures still up on the wall?
I'm sure.
73, 74 also.
What city, though? What's the difference?
All right, our third recipient is Bella Schatzold. Bella is a senior at Penn High School. Since her freshman year, Bella has been working on 2 major accomplishments. She has been a member of the Penn speech and debate team all 4 years of high school, competing in policy debate to create a culture of sustained success, and during her sophomore through her senior years, she helped establish a junior high debate program in PHM system. This year is one of the captains of Penn speech and debate. The school team won the Indiana debate tournament for the first time in Penn history. Additionally, she has been a member of Key Club, Penn's high school's largest club, for 4 years. This year, she is the president of the club. During her 4 years, the club has worked towards the ability to provide nutritious food to the low-income students. This year, Key Club applied for and won a $2,170 grant from the PHM Education Foundation. This money is being used to grow produce in the school's greenhouse to stock the Penn food pantry. Congratulations, come on up, Bella.
So just a little bit about me. I'm really excited to be graduating valedictorian at Penn, and I'm going to be interning again this summer at Notre Dame in their mass spectrometry and proteomics lab, working under 3 amazing professors. Then after that, I'm planning to attend Purdue University, where I'll be getting my master's and undergraduate degree in 5 years towards chemical engineering. And then after that, I plan to apply to law school and go to law school in hopes of becoming a patent lawyer, where I'd like to work in either sustainable food, water, and energy development or pharmaceuticals.
Thank you.
I have a question. Young lady, did you learn your debate skills from your father?
I have to say, he is a big part of my passions
Okay,
and
all right.
my
Let's tell the
abilities.
rest of the council that, Dan.
Dan, would you like to?
She's much better at debating than I am. I lose all the time to her, so. But, just, I'm extremely proud of her, obviously, as my daughter and all these kids. I think that something that, a thread that runs through all of these kids and the kids that we see that achieve these things are just an incredible work ethic, and I think I'm grateful that you all are recognizing that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Bella, come on up.
We have a fourth recipient. Councilman Schutzel is going to step up and read him. He unfortunately couldn't be here tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Hazen. Our fourth recipient is also a Penn High School student, Jaden Wong. Jaden's parents are Lynn and John Wong. John and Jaden are currently in Brazil, so that's why Jaden is not here. He did give me this note to read. He says, "Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be recognized. It means a lot to me to be recognized. I've been lucky to be a part of a great place at Penn High School and given the opportunity to found Science National Honor Society, where I organize service events and meetings to give others passionate in science the chance to learn more about their interests. I'm grateful to Notre Dame for giving me the opportunity to explore scientific research through Dr. Schaefer's lab, where the lab focused on research in metastatic cancer, and I focused on scrambling around trying to make sense of what was going on. Some of my favorite memories in these past years have been being a part of the Penn High School Orchestra and the South Bend Youth Symphony. Music is a huge interest of mine, and I'm grateful to all my peers for their involvement and great memories with that community. I'm excited to continue my academic journey at Notre Dame, where I'll be studying chemistry on the pre-med track. I'm really looking forward to being a part of the Irish and making new memories with all other Notre Dame students, whether that be playing with the symphony, attending football games, or studying last minute for a test after said football games. I apologize that I couldn't be in attendance today, but thank you to everyone again, and it is truly an honor to be recognized by the community. Thank you, Jaden Wong. And Jaden's mother, Lynn, is here, so Lynn, if you want to come up and get the picture and the plaque, that'd be great.
also have a Youth of the Month for the month of February, and our recipient is Gwen Young. Gwen's principal, when she was nominated, Gwen's assistant principal, Mrs. Wells, said, and I quote, "Gwen is very kind and has learned so much and shown exceptional growth in her Pathways classes. Gwen almost single-handedly edits the school news each week and does other tasks and jobs that need to be done. She does it all willingly, without complaint, and without recognition. Gwen has also stepped up this year as a freshman mentor and works with our freshmen to help them acclimate to high school. Gwen is a senior at Mishawaka High School who has been involved with the school's mock trial team, Mishawaka Outlook, Orchestra, and Scholastic Creative Writing Club for 4 years. She's part of the new Freshman Mentors Program. She has submitted her writing to a competition and has received an honorable mention for a personal essay. She has also submitted a short story that is going to be published in SJCPL Writes online at the library. After graduation, Gwen plans to attend Indiana University South Bend to study business. She hopes to become an accountant after college and would love to continue writing and publishing more stories. Gwen Young, our recipient. So Gwen, tell us a little more about yourself.
Well, that basically covers it. I'm really excited to have my short story published through the library. It's something I've been working really hard on all year.
Great. Mom, do you want to add anything?
I am just extremely thankful and proud that she works as diligently as she does. She does this all independently. I don't ever have to get after her about assignments coming due. She's a very wonderful young woman.
We only have 37 more awards, so stay with us.
Our next award is for Citizen of the Month in January. Goes to Rich and Carol Mullins. Rich and Carol have lived in the Twin Branch community of Mishawaka for 50 years. Rich is a Marine Corps veteran, a drummer in the Caldini Guilty Band, and a lifelong Buckeyes fan. That was put in there by our administrative assistant. She's from Ohio. Both Rich and Carol have been actively involved in Big Brothers Big Sisters for over 43 years. Rich has had 11 brothers, most notably Rich reconnected with one of his littles that is now 44 years old. They were able to attend the Notre Dame-Ohio State game together thanks to Carol's generosity. Rich is active with the CAP program, which is the Citizens Alliance with Police in the city of Mishawaka, and both Rich and Carol have dedicated 30-plus years to the Neighborhood Watch program in Mishawaka. Retired Lieutenant Robert Reppert of Mishawaka PD said the Mullins were pretty much the founders of the original Watch Association that we all know today. The Mullins family was also proactive with the Twin Branch Park, making sure that the flowers were planted and the trash was picked up. The willingness of the Mullins to work with the PD, the mayor's office, and a wide variety of city officials within Mishawaka has attributed to the Watch Association's success. Twin Branch Dental once said, Rich and Carol have dedicated so much time and energy in keeping the neighborhood watch going for so long. Their efforts and consistency have made a huge impact on Twin Branch in the Mishawaka area. Lieutenant Bruce Voltinsky with the Mishawaka Police Department was quoted as saying, "It's great to hear that the Mullins will be recognized for their great dedication to keeping their neighborhood, Twin Branch, and the city of Mishawaka a safer place through their conception, implementation, organization, and continuation of the Neighborhood Watch program for over 30 years. Congratulations to Rich and Carol. Come on up.
There's nothing more to be said except 52 years. You want to say anything?
No,
Congratulations. Come on up, forget the
for a change.
Yes,
I'll do the corner. All right, we only have a couple more to do. We're going to move into February, business of the month. Whoops, forgot somebody.
Citizen.
Derek.
We're going with the citizen
Yep.
for February. Dave Smith, come up to the podium, please. Dave has been relentless in his work within the community for over 30 years. Dave has been instrumental in helping support St. Joe County election process many times over. Always diligent in his roles and responsibility, his friendly engagement with elected officials speaks volume of his work ethic. Mr. Smith has gone beyond call of duty on many occasions to help the success of each election cycle. Dave has recently taken on the role of mentor to our lead machine technician. We congratulate Dave on his remarkable milestone and thank him for his loyalty and dedication to our county. Thank you for your tremendous contribution and progress during your tenure. We have been sincerely grateful that you have been a part of the team here in St. Joe County.
Thank you.
Clerk Rolfes, would you all like to get up there and
Most people who know me know that I prefer to work in the background, so this isn't my favorite thing to
Well, they're all
do.
coming up to speak for you now, so.
But it wouldn't have been possible without the help of a lot of people, so
Thank you.
thank you. Very grateful.
Clerk Amy.
Well, Dave, we're very thankful for all the service that you've given to the Elections Division in such a very long time. Dave has his sons here, and then right in the back, we have a lot of veteran election workers who have come to help Dave celebrate this really special moment. So thank you so much, Dave. We really appreciate everything you've done.
Yeah, and just as an echo, I've stepped in to take over the shoes that can never be filled, quite frankly. But he's done a great job, known over as a mentor, but as a friend. I mean, you see these folks that are back here that have worked for him for years, and they've taken their time out to come here to recognize him and to thank him for everything he's done. So just a great guy, a great community leader, and someone that I respect very much. So thank you, Dave, for everything you've done.
for the meeting, you know, I don't go, come on. Yep, am I up again? Yep.
I believe so.
Business of the month for January, Tom's Car Care, up to the podium, please. Tom's Car Care, located on North Bendix, has been a staple of the Northwest Side for over 30 years, and you are the only business ever in the history of those wards that have a 2007 South Bend City Council First District Business of the Month, and now the St. Joe County. So you can weigh in importance which either one. But the Smyslow family has been an anchor on that side of town, from great little breakfasts to good lunches to car washes to oil change, and everything they've done to help that side of the Northwest Side has been there for a long, long time. Thousands of people have come and either ate there or got their cars worked on there or had their cars washed there. So I can tell you firsthand of being there all the time, and everything that you've all done for that side of town is awesome. I can tell you that these commissioners are in your corner 100% not to let the homeless entity come out next door to you. So we're doing all we can, and I think a lot of other people in this room are too. But that being said, I personally, along with the commissioners, thank you and your family for being there for older than, I think Mike Mish is, well, pretty much almost as long Mr. Mish has been alive, so that's a great thing. So thank you for everything that you guys have done out there.
Thank you for the recognition and the 36 years that we've been on Bendix Drive, helping the community and supporting the community in any ways we can. We're thankful for all of our employees who have kept us going all these years and servicing all the customers and the generations of people that are coming through our place. And we're just happy and proud that we can be there all these years and helping the community.
Yeah, neglected to all the Little League sponsorships, all the other things you've done for United Way and other community activities. It's, come on, go over there, and it's all up on the wall. So come over there and speak in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up. Bagel sandwiches, All right, the February business of the month. The Corner Cup Cafe is a family-owned and run business in Walkerton. It sits at the corner of State Road 23 and Highway 6 at the only stoplight in town. The cafe was purchased in October of 2000 by Jeff and Penny Fansler and Karen and the late Phil Colburn. After completely renovating the entire building down to the studs and lots of long nights, lots of sweat and sore muscles, the Corner Cup was opened in April of 2001. Penny and Karen managed the daily operations along with being the main cooks. They truly feel blessed to have met so many great and unique people and to have made lasting relationships through what would have never formed without the cafe. Their loyal staff have been with them for 10 years and the loyal customers for 23 years. If you have never been there, the menu consists of full line of breakfast and lunch items. The specialty is cinnamon rolls, and the soups are made from scratch with a new soup every day. Door County coffee is stocked with over 30 flavors, where there is a different flavor every day of the week. During the pandemic, the Giving Hearts program was created. The Corner Cup Cafe delivered 40 meals a week to elderly, shut-ins, and the sick during the height of the pandemic. During those uncertain times, Penny and Karen wanted the customers to know
that they were being thought of and missed. The cafe continues to deliver 24 meals a week to the communities of Walkerton, North Liberty, and Coons Lake. The most amazing part of this program is that 100% is funded by the gracious and wonderful customers and caring community. It has changed many lives in the community. For those reasons and more, Corner Cup Cafe is the business of the month in February. Come on up.
We would like to thank you so much for picking us. So we're down in Walkerton, which is like the southernmost point of the county, so thank you for recognizing us way down there, and the Giving Hearts program has been a very special thing to us, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for recognizing the small businesses out there. Sometimes they're a forgotten entity.
Come on up for a photograph.
Thank you very much. What's up, little dude? How are you? What's your favorite team? Chiefs! All right, good man.
Chiefs.
That's all right. You got a Kelsey jersey? See a picture of Patrick Mahomes?
You're not gonna be next year. Where do you go to school?
You made it. Carlsbad. Carlsbad.
Last but not least is our,
Got an employee, not two.
oh, right, we do have two. Our February Employee of the Month is Amy Rupie. Amy has been with the Department of Health for 26 years. During this time, Amy has shown her devotion to the department through her hard work and loyalty. Her resourcefulness has made her almost an indispensable asset to the Department of Health, as well as St. Joseph County. Amy's role as finance manager makes her a key component in the foundation of an ever-changing department. In the last 5 years, Amy has expanded her duties to administration and aided 3 different health officers transition to their roles as leaders of the department, all the while maintaining her high level of performance and standards for the department. She has led the billing of Medicaid, and just this year has been the lead on Health First Indiana, that is in charge of allocating funds to the department by the state of Indiana. Amy is often contacted by other departments for advice, help on implementing STJC-wide programs, and projects to make things more efficient. John Butler of the Auditor's Office states, "She has helped me with her knowledge of department budgeting and payroll experience. She is always patient and willing to assist with troubleshooting our timekeeping rules and procedures." And since Amy is here and we work closely with her, I can echo all of that. She has been a tremendous help to the Board of Commissioners. Glad you're with us, and why don't you come up to the podium? Come
of the co-workers should go with her, co-workers, and talk about her.
Come
We
on.
have
up and
another
stand up.
23 minutes to kill, so.
I just really appreciate this recognition. We work with wonderful staff with the Department of Health and very excited for the things to come with Health First St. Joe County as well as Health First Indiana, and look forward to, I'm not going to say another 26 years, but I do plan to stay for the long haul. So thank you again.
Great.
I've worked with Amy for over 16 years. She is irreplaceable and amazing, and I could not imagine the Department of Health without her.
I'm Dr. Purushottam. I get to work with Amy as well, and I agree with everything that's been said. She is incredibly humble, a great source of information, always willing to help, even if it's outside her scope. And more importantly, she cares about all of the members in the health department and our community. I'm truly privileged to have worked with her. Thank you for recognizing her today.
Wait a minute, Tony? Amy, you step back up there, please. I would like to thank Amy. Contrary to a lot of public sentiment over the past couple of years, there was never a big, the commissioners hate the health department. On the contrary, all the work that you've done on the grants that you've done, always able to ask any question that we had. If you didn't know, the next day we would get a call and saying this, so. Fantastic woman. Sorry you have to leave, doctor, but we have a fantastic person there. And again, I, as long as the other commissioners, appreciate all the work that you do and continue to do. So thank you. Come and get your lovely gifts.
Thank you.
Oh, he's fine.
We might have to squeeze them a little bit. We have 4 cameras, so. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3, perfect. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's not right. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Last one. All right. 1, 2.5. Perfect. Thank you. That's next time. Thank you. You're welcome. Jenny, or one of you? Yes. Thank you. I'll be right there.
Yeah, why didn't you give her that? Yeah, they should have given you the banner award. I apologize.
Well, I just want to note that we did get a little behind due to weather and other circumstances, so glad we could recognize all those folks. They all deserve the recognition. Moving on to approval of the Waste Management Service Agreement.
Good evening, Commissioners. Bree Roberts, Director of Procurement with offices on the 7th floor of this building.
And Jonathan Baker with offices in the lower floor.
Before you today, this item is a waste management services agreement for 2 locations. The first being 4141 Lathrop, where they have an 8-yard equipment, and then 401 Sample Street, they have a 34-yard compactor as well as a 20-yard dumpster. And I tried to itemize the previous costs as well as the current proposed costs. This is in regards to no minimum tonnage required, no surcharges or container usage fees as we've been charged in the past. And the vendor stated that this savings is with regard to a rerouting project that allowed for greater efficiencies. And they're passing on that savings to St. Joseph County because of the longstanding relationship. Amended agreements as outlined do present a substantial annual savings, and both procurement and facility maintenance find these agreements favorable and ask for your approval.
Certainly saving over $17,000. Taking advantage of their rerouting is a benefit to us. Appreciate your activities to get this pulled together. Any other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to approve the waste management service agreements?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is the approval of the JJC Johnson Controls Service Agreement for the fire alarm panel.
Yep, so this one, as you mentioned, is for the JJC facility. This is a planned service agreement renewal with Johnson Controls for their fire protection, for their fire panel, excuse me. Pricing reflected includes the annual inspection and covers any maintenance, repairs, which is their expert coverage category, or issues that may arise regarding the fire panel and system at JJC. This agreement does represent a 0% increase from previous years. St. Joseph County has also had a longstanding professional relationship with this vendor and satisfactory service at this location per JJC. I did make sure that JJC was aware that we are doing this, and they advised that they are also in favor, as well as procurement and facility maintenance.
The fact that there's no increase, given the inflation that we've had over the last couple of years, is significant in itself, too. So.
Yes, it is.
Any other questions or comments regarding the renewal of the fire alarm panel service agreement with Johnson Controls?
No.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, approval of Keel Architecture Services proposal for Courthouse 1.
Yep, so before you today, this proposal from Keel Architecture is to perform an architectural consultation and assessment of the Courthouse 1 roof and dome structure. Historic courthouse is in dire need of repair and restoration work. The rotunda area has incurred multiple leaks over time, causing water damage to the plaster work and murals within the rotunda space. The roof underlayment was last replaced in 1996 and has thus exceeded its useful life. It is believed that that's the cause of the leaking, but this work will solidify that and itemize any other issues that they see with the roof after this. The commissioners did engage Keel Architecture as overseeing architect on this project, and thus provided the attached proposal. This Phase 1 assessment fee is listed as $15,700, and then as well as alternate 1 at an hourly rate to assist the county with the preparation of the certificate of appropriateness, as this is a historic structure.
Any questions?
Negative.
It's certainly something we have to do. If anybody's seen the murals inside the rotunda that are peeling, got to fix that roof.
Absolutely. And this is, just to mention too, on the capital planning requests for the courts as well.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion to approve the Courthouse 1 services proposal with Keel Architecture?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
both of
Bree
you.
and John.
Next, approval of the bills passed by the county council. I would suggest we, just checking. They were all unanimously approved. I suggest we just approve them en masse.
En masse, very good. En masse.
Do we have a motion to
Tony,
approve?
En masse.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you
Aye.
vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, we have approval of the employment agreement through IPG for the Division of Public Works. I see Mr. Metters making his way to the podium.
Good evening, Sky Metters, Department of Infrastructure, Planning and Growth, offices on the 7th and 11th floor of this building. This item was before you a few months ago, and there were some items that needed changed in it. What this is an employment agreement for someone that we hired on, and they had the longevity and had worked with the county previously, and the experience to warrant adding an additional week of vacation. So after a year, they started with 3 weeks vacation instead of 2. We've had legal review this and recommend your approval.
Any questions or comments? If not, do we have approval of the employment agreement?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, approval of contract R-37496, added travel lanes and bridge replacement on Douglas Road and Ironwood Road, and various locations between Ivy and State Road 23. This is change order number 19.
I'm gonna have to talk to Andy on how long he's making those descriptions. Basically, what this is there was some pavement markings placed during the project, and then there were some things that changed during the project. And after traveling around that area, after things had been built, it was identified that it would be beneficial to the project to move those pavement markings that are west and east of Ironwood for just overall safety and so forth. So that was done, and the increase in the contract was $12,177.80.
So the ones on the east of Ironwood?
I believe east and
Coming up
west.
the hill a little bit
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
creek, okay.
Right, at Douglas.
Scott, does this pretty much close out the project, or will we have anything else?
Well, every time I say it, there's another change order that pops up, so we're getting close. The project itself isn't finalized until next year, once we get seed to take and everything. So I'm hoping this wraps up the change orders at this point.
But I would note that the total change orders are 5.4%.
Right.
Anything under 10% industry-wide is got to anticipate some of those
And especially with a
problems.
project this big, with the amount of work, with widening. There's also 2 bridges that were replaced. That's not a bad place to come in. So.
Oh, yeah, thank you for keeping a good eye on that whole project now. And for people who don't know, Mr. Misher is a bike lane, so Jim and Buddy can ride their tandem out to the mall if they want now from downtown South Bend. So that's a good wide path that's out there for biking and walking.
Since I use part of that every day, I really appreciate that project. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Metters? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
carries.
Thank you, Sky Metter.
Speaking of the Department of Health, as we were a few minutes ago, the
What'd I
next
tell you?
is support of Health First St. Joseph County Community Grant Awards.
Amy Ruby, Administrator for the Department of Health, offices on the 8th and 9th floor of the County City Building. And today we are asking for support to fully execute 2 contracts with the 19 awardees that we have awarded contracts to using Health First St. Joseph County funds.
You don't think we're going to say no to our award recipient today, do you? Your timing was excellent. No. I, for one, appreciate the work you're doing and the department is doing to bring in the community partners. And I think it speaks well for everybody. Any questions or
If
comments?
this is approved, I'm pretty sure we're well over 60 since I've been here, grants and other things that y'all have done. And your office, doctor and everybody there revolves around you doing all the hard work and the hard lifting to find all the finances. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, do we have a motion to approve the Health First St. Joseph County Community Grant Awards?
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy Rupi.
That concludes our first part of our agenda for this evening. I would suggest we just take a short 5-minute break till 6 o'clock.
You want to skip new business and do public comments before we do that?
No, I think we'll do the public comments at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. Take a short break.
Make a
We will
motion for recess.
reconvene in 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Aye, all in favor, aye.
Well, my bladder and I thank you for the break. Our next item on the agenda is new business, and we're going to have a presentation from Abbenmarsh and DLZ. Let me just preface this by saying this is a project that started last summer. I want to thank the county council for supporting the commissioners in starting this project. It really has two parts, to look at the condition of our facilities as well as what our current and future space needs are going to be. So tonight is the first public unveiling of the first part of that, looking at the condition assessment for this building, the County City building, as well as looking at our space needs. So we're going to ask representatives of DLZ, who did the facility condition assessment, to come up and present what you have found thus far.
Thank you. So, I guess I got to leave that there. Okay. So Stephen Krumkowski, Vice President at DLZ with principal offices at 2211 East Jefferson, South Bend, Indiana. So as you're aware, we've been commissioned to go ahead and look at the facility condition of the overall county city building. There's other buildings within the county that we are also doing the assessment for, but tonight we're going to focus on sort of a status of where we're at and what we've discovered to date. So there were some primary goals. One, we needed to sort of look at the overall building itself. How is it operating from an infrastructure standpoint? Make sure we understood the overall goals and the objectives of this. So why don't we go ahead and I'll just go ahead since I don't have a advancer, right? Okay. Oh. Okay. So we were able to go to the next one. So we were able to go through all of the rooms and the areas and the floors, not only within the county city building, but it also serves the annex and the courthouses as well. So we've begun that process as well. And within this, we've identified not only what the existing conditions are, but also if there's necessary corrective action. And then we're beginning to look at the opinion of cost to do those corrections, and then also explore other implementations for those corrective actions. Go ahead. Go ahead, one more. So just as an overview, the building was actually constructed in 1967. There's approximately 232,000 square feet within this building. It was originally constructed as the county city building and then also was the former jail. The jail has since moved out of this area, and that area was renovated into courthouse number 3, which comprised about 60,000 square feet. There's 14 total levels as well as a basement. And there's the ground floor is primarily public area. There's also a core space that has your elevators, your stairs, and your restrooms on each floor. So as we begin to the 5th floor, just to note, the 5th floor serves all of your mechanical, primarily all of your mechanical service space, and then those feed the areas. So this diagram here on the screen basically identifies the zone mechanically and how it's served. It also serves mechanically, it serves the adjacent buildings as well. So it's something to be of note. Let's go ahead. Structurally, these are just the typical floor plans. Structurally, go back one more. That's okay. So just the areas in red and the pink there, those are just your core circulation space, your stairs for exiting, as well as your elevators, 4 primary elevators in the facility. Okay. And then in terms of the overall structural system, your structural is in sound condition. It basically is a steel frame construction. There is a concrete metal deck on all the floors, and then also the steel was protected with fire protection and fireproofing, and that was really necessary typically to meet code requirements, and still is today. So go ahead. You can see the overall breakdown of the areas. You're roughly, depending on which floor, but just assume about 10,000 square feet per floor level. Some of the lower levels contain a little bit more. And then also we began to look at, one is that you have your critical infrastructure, and we'll get into what those items are that need to be addressed. The structure is sound, but you do need some capital improvements to further, to prevent any further deterioration or damage to the interiors. It is, I think everyone would agree, there are some areas that have been improved, but it does have kind of a worn, would like to say is a worn and tired aesthetic to it. It's still, you serve your function. Aesthetic is one thing, but it does have an impact. So, the next slide. Just from a life cycle standpoint, we began to look at those critical items, and we began to look at the roof, the curtain wall, curtain wall is just the windows on the outside, for lack of a better term. Your mechanical systems, your plumbing systems, and your electrical systems are sort of those primary areas. When you begin to look at what the typical life expectancy is, most of those critical items are beyond their life expectancy. We do know that your plumbing has had issues, 2 major issues recently, within the last 3-4 months. And then also some of your other systems, your roof, there's some leaks and so forth. So you want to try to be aware of those items. Go to the next one.
Just back to that one,
Yes.
explain more in detail the boiler capacity and able to maintain.
Yeah, so the boiler capacity, basically, there was, it doesn't, you have a capacity to run your system on a typical day, but on those cold days, it's really wasn't, the capacity of the boilers can achieve what we would consider as a winter design condition, and which means that you can have all the boilers running at one time, but it really isn't going to heat the building to its proper temperature. And I think you've experienced that this past winter. Even though we had a fairly mild winter, you have experienced that. And then also when you have the extreme colds, it really isn't going to keep up. And if you don't keep up in certain areas, there's potential for pipes freezing and so forth.
So more than half or 25 years past life expectancy, correct?
Correct. Yep. Okay. This is just a graph that when we talk about life expectancy, there's some major systems that we've identified. The 2 blue lines are basically where you're at right now. You can see pretty much all of your major systems and components are well beyond their life expectancy. That's not to say the building needs to be condemned, but it does say that you need to, you do need some upgrades, whether it's carpet and painting or it's roof and window replacement and so forth. So you sort of track this so that you can plan a logical capital improvement plan when you do have new things that come on board. In terms of the initial assessment, the critical infrastructure, as I just mentioned, go to the next slide, has to do with the roof, the curtain wall, basically what keeps the building safe and dry and out of the weather, and also it provides indoor air comfort and temperature. So those are the major systems that we were looking at when we had talked about critical infrastructure. Okay. Go to the next one. So the initial assessment, as I mentioned earlier, we basically walked through all of the facilities, documented it, developed base drawings, and then we also met with individual personnel from your staff to talk about some of the areas that have been improved and so forth. And then we began to look at what is the proper course of action and how feasible from a constructability standpoint does that work as well. So one of the challenges that we had with this facility, where it was brought up at one point, what if we just tear down the building? And you can tear down the building, but there has, go to the next one, you do have some challenges with trying to tear down this building. One is that you're in a very tight urban site. Probably the major component is that your courthouse is 1, 2 in the law building, and also courthouse 3, because it's part of this. It's all served by mechanical system within the county city building. So to tear that down, you still need to construct then a new central plant for all of those systems. And then it creates rather complex ability to take it down because of the adjacent buildings, and you don't want to compromise the adjacent buildings, especially historic buildings that are on your site and then adjacent buildings that you do not own. So we deemed this really wasn't a feasible option to take this building down. Go ahead. So we came up with, There's 4 primary, but it's really 6 because we have an A and B of certain ones. So I just want to kind of briefly run through these. So the first option is to look at, the next one. So the first option is to let's just build a brand new building, a new government center. There are some positives and shortcomings of those. It doesn't address some of your immediate needs from the shortcomings. It also is, you have to take into account a public perception issue in terms of you have a building, you're going to tear it down and move somewhere else, what happens? But the positive things are that you would basically have improved energy efficiencies of your building, reduced operational cost overall than what you have now, and then you would consolidate all of your operations into a single facility. The schedule, we would estimate 4 to 5 years to actually complete this project, and then the overall cost would be in that range of 130 to 175 million based on the size that you have now. That also could account for property acquisition and so forth. So we just sort of put that in. All these costs are general opinions right now, and we haven't done any design work, but based on our historic knowledge and the scale of the project, that's what would be a good reason. There's also inflation. It takes time to design a building of that size, and so it also takes into inflation to account for that. Approach number 2, and I'm just going to say 2A, is to renovate all the building, the entire building at one time. And once again, there's some positives and shortcomings of that, but it would also account, you would need about $11 million either to acquire or to relocate everybody out of this building. So there's some cost savings by addressing the entire building at one time, but there's also some additive costs that you have to take into consideration. That would be about a 30 to 36 month schedule and approximately $85 to $90 million. And I can go through each one of these, but just in the interest of time, we'll just sort of run through all of those options and answer any questions you might have. 2B is that you renovate the existing building floor by floor. And so that also creates challenges. One is the schedule. You would be working on this for approximately 10 years if you did floor by floor. And so you could sequence it in different manners. We do know, and I failed to mention earlier, 3 of the floors in this building are being vacated at the end of the year, and so it does have some opportunities to do that. But if you did the entire building, but you did it floor by floor, you're still around that $90 million mark to do that, and 120 to 144 months to do. Okay. The next option is approach number 3A, and that's basically just to renovate floors 2 through 4. And then also, that would also mean that you would move some of the county offices out of those that are in 6 through 11. You'd move those out to a to-be-determined site. And then what happens with the rest of that area is to be determined, but you really, the ones, and how we came up with that 60,000 square feet was generally those services that are very public-oriented, that have, there's lack of parking and so forth in this area. And so those would be the areas that we would move into a new facility. We also would feel that you would want to still protect the building itself, so the critical infrastructures would also be addressed. That in and of itself would be about a 3-year project and about $60 million to complete. It doesn't address everything like parking. You still have the same concerns that you have now. Approach 3B is to renovate floors 2 through 4 and limited critical infrastructures. And so when we begin to talk about this is that we begin to those areas that are directly impacting your overall operation. And so once again, you still need a building that you can relocate offices to and get them out of this building, okay? There would be a positive, you'd reduce operational cost for that, and that's still a 30 to 36 months, about 3 years, and then about a $50 million cost to that. Now, approach number 4 was saying, okay, well, you can't do all of that. And so how do you protect this building for further deterioration or impact the major items? So we call those critical infrastructures. And so we begin to look at the critical infrastructures, those mission critical items. There's the major HVAC equipment, the plumbing system, the roof replacement, curtain wall system, electrical distribution, and the connection on the lower level of the courts in the tunnel pedestrian connection. So floors 11 through 14 would just remain unoccupied, give you that flexibility if you need to move people up into those areas, but we really wouldn't be touching those areas. So that would be a 2 to 3 year process and then a $40 to $45 million cost with that. Some of the additional costs that projects that are not directly related to the assessment, but that came out of this building or of this assessment, we talked about why, if you have to relocate, what happens. So, you know, if you renovate an existing building for people, you're going to still have a price tag. Okay, so typically the building still needs some of those critical infrastructures. It's not in perfect condition. Some of the positives, you would assume you would choose a site that has public accessibility and parking needs that are met. You also reduce the overall schedule, implementation schedule, and then also the initial cost. So that would, you could do that maybe in a year to 18 months. And the project cost could also drop from a $8 to a $12 million cost with that. That would exclude property acquisition and so forth. We don't know what that would be. And then finally, the next item is construct a parking deck. Since we heard that out of this study, is that what would it be to construct a parking deck? Just where, who knows? But what does the cost for a parking deck? And for about 350 parking spaces, you're looking at about 12 to 14 million for that. And so that would exclude property acquisition or demolition of existing buildings if that need. So that's kind of in a short but long ways synopsis of what we have to date. A couple of the other items just in terms of recommendation. So in terms of specific recommendation, there's a lot to ponder and a lot to give a direction. You're here to give you assistance. But a couple of things that I think came out with any type of project like this is that you really need to have a logical and a systematic implementation plan. And that the capital improvements need to consider a couple things when you're making those sort of decisions. One is improve patron service and support for all members of the community. Create an improved work environment for the county employees, which has a direct impact on your other costs like health and so forth. Produce a long-term operational and maintenance cost savings. If you replace your mechanical system or the windows that are more efficient, then your operational costs are reduced and you don't have emergency repairs as much. And then be proactive rather than reactive. And so we understand, you know, cost and so forth, but usually older facilities, you become much more reactive with it. And so you have a water line break, you have to shut down the building, you have to all of a sudden you spend premium cost to repair those things. So those are some things that we would recommend. The other is that, you know, the building was constructed in 1967. Everything is, many of those major items, if not all, are really out of their life expectancy. And so that the building age and the overall systems need to be addressed. Whether you stay here or you relocate, whatever you do, you're going to have to address that. That item is sort of a given. It has the ability with those three floors that are vacated, that you do have an ability to sort of leapfrog and move people around into, as long as it works within the overall space plan assessment, but there is square footage, about 30,000 square feet that becomes available. And then you just need to develop a framework, I think, that is in the best interest of your operation and the community itself. So I'm happy. I do want to acknowledge Cassie. Cassie Quissall is one of our project architects that's been involved in this project, and so I wanted to acknowledge that she was here and has been sort of instrumental in putting this together. So entertain any questions you might have.
Well, as you know, in a former life, I did this kind of work. And so I want to thank you at DLZ, you and Cassie specifically, for all that you put into this. I know it's just the first part of it. And I want to remind people that we're just looking at this building. We had a pipe break in the Courthouse 1 a couple weeks ago, which necessitated closing the building for a day. But it is another example. We had a couple of pipe breaks in this building last year.
Courthouse 3.
And Courthouse 3, that sprinkler head froze partially due to the, mostly due to the weather and the heating system not being able to keep up. And this building has exceeded its useful life. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I do want to recognize the fact that we did do a lot over the last several years before I came on to extend it. The maintenance department did do a good job. But it's just like our homes or anything else. You know, sooner or later that roof is going to wear out. Sooner or later you're going to need a new furnace. So it's the day of reckoning, in my opinion, our opinion, has come. And we'll be looking forward. I know DLZ, you've already started continuing to look at the other buildings that we tasked you with.
We have.
So in the next couple months, we will be able to revisit a similar presentation for other buildings. And this will give the council and commissioners and the community a more holistic look at everything that needs to be done to maintain our facilities.
I'd like to thank DLZ for a great job on this. And just for further background, we started this, Surveyor Krasinski and I, in August. We took about 30 people from the building department heads. All of the council members here have gone in. 2 other council members who are not here never even went into that. And because we're a government entity, we can't move as fast as people in the private sector. And we had a very nice building. It would have probably fit all the parameters we're looking at, 350 parking spots. It was a good price, but we can't act like the private sector. So that building is gone. And the city then also purchased some other sites along the river, which I think are going to be torn down for houses. So again, just like everything, it's a financial thing. The years and years that this place attempted, when Mr. Castelny was here and they were just trying to fix and fix and fix, but at this point, we're past the fixing. So it's going to be a decision, a monetary decision for the council, so that's why we're trying to get this all the information. Also to get more public input on that, because we want to hear from you. But like I said, if it was the private sector, we probably would have had that building and been moving, but government moves way slower than that. So this is good information, and if anybody else has questions for DLZ, let us know.
We will have public comment after the presentation by Abbenmarsh on space needs.
Okay, we're available.
Thank you.
after.
Yeah, don't leave.
I won't. Thank you.
Next, we're going to talk about the space needs. And that is being handled by Abbenmarsh.
Good evening, Arvin Dela Cruz, lead architect at Abbenmarsh here in South Bend. Just wait to queue up the slides. So this will be a snapshot of the greater space allocation study, but for the spirit of the time, we're going to take a snapshot of one of the process that we've gone through. Essentially, we've been tasked to review 27 departments within the building to determine what are the needs, what are the wants, and how can we create a space that enhances not only the service to the public, but also efficiency and enhancements within this various departments. So you can see on the next page, these are the various departments, 27 of them. We also located, whether they're in the county city building, law building, various locations throughout the community. There's a few in Mishawaka as well. Next slide, please. So at the start of the process, a questionnaire was sent out to each of the departments with leadership as well as staff, looking at what are the existing spaces. So we also mapped out each of the departments, talked and interviewed each of the groups and discussed workflows, discussed what are the pain points, things that, how can we grow efficiencies. You can see the list there all the way to technology and parking, so on and so forth. And based on that, that began to generate the information that feeds into the study as well. The next series of slides just show each of the departments and being able to walk through the space, being able to determine what are the needs, what are the existing conditions, how do patrons and the public interact with each of the spaces, as well as how do each of the departments interact within themselves. So really doing a deep dive into the efficiencies as well as the physical spaces, whether it be a furniture solution, spaces that would be workstations or private offices. So we really did an analysis just to find out what are the various departments, what are their needs and existing conditions, all the way to storage, right? Being able to utilize storage that's available, storage that might be needed in the facilities in the entire county, as well as how can we strategize to go to digital versus hard copies, so on and so forth. One of the analysis was also looking at how do the public interact with each of the departments. Next slide, please. As well as archives, archives off-site. There's also the need to courier some of that material back and forth, so we studied that as well. Then based on that, each of these groupings, we'll call them chapters. So the departments in the final document are set in chapters, so we're able to analyze the needs for each of those departments. So we can see here's an example for the health department, for instance, color-coded to analyze where are the departments within each floor plate, as well as what are the adjacencies that go along with each of those departments. So there's a couple slides there. So again, this is a snapshot. You can also see which floor, so 8 and 9 for health, for instance, we're able to determine within the building. So essentially, this becomes an analysis, we'll call it the game of Tetris. As we begin to look at each of the departments and their needs, some may grow, some may shrink in square footage, not necessarily staff, but there might be some opportunities to be more efficient of the spaces. So this analysis will allow us to do that. The next slide, call it the top 10. So what we heard from the various departments and leadership, top 10 issues that seem to be an overarching, overlapping items, parking, to the needs for how can we be more efficient with conference room spaces, variety of conference room spaces that can accommodate all the different departments. Upgrades in restrooms. The restrooms currently, as we know, are not ADA compliant in this building. So further down the presentation, we'll look at some examples of how we might address that. Appropriate storage, locations of the storage, and how might those be utilized instead of the break room. So sometimes the storage is being used as a break room and vice versa. As we also discussed earlier, the inconsistency of temperature and being able to regulate HVAC issues. Time and time again, staff were mindful of that. Security as well, depending on at each of the floor plate, not necessarily the main security on the first level, but how is security addressed at each of the departments as folks move up and down the levels. Wayfinding, general wayfinding in the building. Let's say there's opportunities for improvement. So when patrons and the public come into the building, are they able to determine where they need to go? So some improvements there. As well as some of the departments commented on just some guests in their suite they've found throughout the building as well. As an opportunity for daylight, being able to capture some of the natural light deeper into the space, and how might we enhance that utilization. So those were some high other points that staff had indicated. And a potential kiosk, depending on the departments, there might be some opportunities to provide kiosks on the main level to assist with their department needs. We also discussed how do we provide layouts that are efficient and enhancing the opportunities within each of the departments, review those opportunities as well as different space needs that are needed within each of the departments. So as an example, we'll use IPG. Next slide, please. Part of the analysis is also strategizing on utilizing standards within each of the departments, whether a department head would need a space for sit-down space for a group of 4, for instance, or all the way down to a guest chair, really being mindful of how can we utilize the space with furniture solutions that provides flexibility. So we did a deep dive with each of the departments, whether it's a workstation, whether it's a hoteling spaces, opportunities also for what is the right size for a meeting room, whether that needs to accommodate 4 people all the way up to 12 people, plus training facilities. So we assess that as well. So this is just a snapshot, again, the chapter. So each of the departments that we saw earlier, that were 27 departments, will have its own chapter. And for example, on the next slide, we'll use IPG. It's obviously located within this building. We analyze with the department heads and the staff, what are the adjacencies that's important? So again, when we go through the Tetris analogy, how do we make sure that what's being designed with adjacencies to various departments or within themselves? Next slide, please. As well as looking at, these are notes, so what we determined from those meetings with staff, adjacencies, break room, parking needs, general needs, so that helps inform the educated information that is required, or the needs versus the wants again. So flipping through here, I think the next series of slides we can flip through pretty quickly, but what we did was analyzing the existing space to the proposed space, and then that generally gives us square footage needs as we play the Tetris game. We also analyze parking needs within each of the departments. Where might they need a parking spot versus not a parking spot, parking off-site, so that's also analyzed within each of these groups. The next slide covers planning. So again, doing a space adjacency analysis, what are the bubble diagrams that we want to make sure that there's efficiency throughout the facility when we begin to analyze spatial needs. Similar things here for planning, special circumstances, so on and so forth, that each of the departments require. Planning and allocation. You can begin to see here where we're starting to analyze the needs of the staff currently, the staff count for each of the departments, as well as future needs, that there might be a need or a desire to add staff. So again, those types of information are being acknowledged in this report. Next slide, please. So similar thing. So you can see begin to see a pattern in this document, and that way each of the chapters are able to really being able to analyze with each of the department heads as well as the commissioners to be able to determine next steps. Then the next slide with the plans. Thank you. So here we're looking at what our IPG, for instance, right now is on the 7th floor for engineering. The next slide we see that the rest of IPG group are on the 11th floor. So being able to analyze these spaces, there would be advantages in the renovation to have these floors be adjacent to each other, right? for efficiency and effectiveness for each of those departments. Next, please. With that information, we're beginning to look at the analysis of needs. We have in the coming slides some charts, as well as looking at what are available spaces within the county city building, the law building, and potentially the law, other spaces within this building itself. Looking at core issues as well. We spoke earlier about the restrooms and elevators and how might we enhance that need. So this is just a snapshot of a much larger chart. This is, we'll call it an executive summary, but we can see here the needs of each of the departments, the staff needs, square footages, weighting, private office, so on and so forth. And this information then feeds to the next slide, which really looks at what are the square footages available within this building, as well as the existing spaces and proposed allocation. So based on this analysis, especially with the city potentially vacating the 3 floors, that there is adequate space here to accommodate those needs. Next slide, these are just examples of how to potentially address the core, which as we all know, the restrooms are not ADA. Being able to provide the quality of gender-neutral family restrooms would be available within each of the floor plates. So here's an example of that exact thing, having 3 private restrooms, gender-neutral restrooms, and/or family restrooms. Next slide, there's a different opportunity to enhance that, provide on a variety of floors, depending on the needs on that floor, being able to secure a little bit more square footage for restroom needs. And then the last slide of this series is having both family restrooms and gender-specific restrooms per floor. So again, that can be analyzed with the commissioners downstream once we determine the needs for each of the floor plate. Items 10 and 11 also dealt with the parking needs and the issues within the county vehicles, as well as staff parking, public parking, with visitor issues. Again, we want to be mindful of the needs, but once they get into the building after they park or arrive with public transportation, are they able to navigate the building to be able to minimize the anxiety? So those are the spaces and items that are also found in this study. The next slide is just a series of general stats. One of the things that we discovered along the way, again, generally 480 plus employees. You can see here just the traffic count, pedestrian traffic count within the building itself, 220 per year, 1,000 per day, 120 per hour, as well as the law building number of trips of 7 to 8 folks there per hour. With that information then moving forward, being able to really strategize and think through how do we provide a space within the building to enhance not only the patron and public experience, but also the staff experience. Being able to improve efficiency, the workflow, the wellness program within the building itself. How can each of the department potentially share conference rooms and break rooms and so on? Certain departments may not be able to even need conference rooms, and some need multiple conference rooms. So we're analyzing that as part of the spatial needs within the Tetris analogy. As well as we know, the value of the programs within this space are equally important as the enhancements for employee recruitment and retention and just general quality of life, not just with the public, but also with the employees within the building. And then really looking at how do we standardize offices and furniture for enhanced efficiency within the building itself. Then with that knowledge and information, we would come before the commissioners and be able to analyze with county leadership, next slide, please. County leadership, how do we move forward in what sort of spaces, and analyze the priorities. Each of those departments would have a potential layout as well that's gleaned from the information there, and then provide a level of cost information for each of those renovations.
Yeah, before we go to questions, if both DLZ and you guys could get hard copies for all of the council, of each of your reports, so they can have that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Again, this is just the first cut at this. We appreciate it.
Welcome.
With that, we're going to move to public comments. While no one's signed up, would anybody like to offer a comment? I know this is your first exposure to that, so don't feel that you have to. I want to thank the council members who came this evening. I've had the pleasure to talk to most, and I've talked to everybody, not specifically about this. And as Commissioner Jeter said, certainly we did have a preference going in, and may retain that preference to locate in a building other than this building. But let me note that, as was said in the facility condition assessment, we will not totally abandon this building. It is just impractical, since the HVAC comes from the 5th floor and feeds both the 2 other courthouses as well as the law building. Where would you put a power plant to serve that on our site? We just don't have the room. And we have functions such as the clerk and the prosecutor who need access to the courthouses. So that may not, that certainly, in my opinion, precludes leaving this building. And it really does come down to, and I'm looking forward to, all of us, so we're looking forward to working with the council on looking at these options and seeing which one, or ones, maybe it's a change, some other thoughts that we haven't included. But we have to do something. And I think the activities, the actions and the issues that we faced over the last year and a half that I've been in office just emphasize the fact that the time has come to take a look at that and start addressing the needs. If nobody has any further comments, we'll make sure that this is posted on our website. And, oh, we do have one. Why don't you come up and, just for the record,
Good evening. How many proposals have you also engaged in other bids or opinions or anything like that?
We just need your name and address for the record, sir.
Paul Matthews, 502 North State Street, Mishawaka, Indiana.
just a clarification, are you talking about how many other firms did we talk to about doing this work?
Yeah,
I believe-
usually, you know, you want to get like 3 to 5 bids.
I think we got 10. I'd have to go back and look. We got quite a few proposals from firms.
Was this the only one that was the cheapest or the?
It was a combination of cost, experience, and ability to do the work in a timely manner.
How old is the courthouse, the one with the rotunda?
You're going to ask? 95.
All right, I know not everybody's popular with, you know, destroying an historic building, but don't you think that knocking that thing down would be a lot easier, and then constructing a parking lot? Because you got an awful big bunch of concrete in between the oldest building and that. Or instead of having the utilities be run off of this building, why not build something in that concrete area to like a boiler, a couple boilers or something within there to feed those other couple of buildings instead of relying on this building to do that. And then using this building just primarily by itself. Probably could save a lot more energy by doing that rather than, destroying this huge, or this freaking, one of the tallest buildings in South Bend. And also, I mean, this thing was built in 67, finished in 71, correct? So, I mean, this building is like 50 years old, 55 years old. That's as old as me, man. I'm not ready to go. I mean, come on, man. My house is like 100 years old. And all it would take is a little foresight and I think a lot more emphasis on maintenance. And once we get it to that point, get maintenance contracts and bid them out. Just don't get like one bid and then go with that. You should bring people in here and give several things. Because when I go out and I try to, get estimates and stuff like that, I try to use at least 3 to 5 contractors, and find out there are so many other modern things that are happening right now that were way back than 71, like those air conditioner heater units that are individual, that they set outside and, maybe they can hang off the side of the building and pump enough heat to do that. But I just think that knocking down and abandoning this structure is absolutely ridiculous. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. With that, nobody else raised their hand. I don't see anybody online offering a comment. I think we are ready for a motion to recess.
Second. Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote? Aye. Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Aye. Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
We're recessed.
Thank you very much.